The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered sinks its infected teeth into PS5 from today and brings heaps of behind-the-scenes extras with it. There are lost levels cut from the game, including some adorable clicker role-playing, and developer commentaries to accompany the cinematics. The latter features loads of deserved cooing over how good the ear tech is.
This shot right here with the light coming through Ellie's ear is just so gorgeous.
But also reveals loads of hidden details and secrets. So, what better time to share the juiciest facts we learned about The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered? Obviously, this will contain massive spoilers, so maybe watch this one once you've conquered the campaign. And remember, if you own the original game, you can upgrade to Remastered for £10 to dive into all these revelations yourself.
Jesus. How the hell are we crossing this?
Number 1. Seattle provides the setting for Ellie's roaring rampage of revenge, from the bombed-out grassland of downtown to what is now the world's saddest aquarium. But did you know it owes a small debt to another PlayStation studio, Sucker Punch? Infamous Second Son was set in an open-world Seattle, and during The Last of Us Part 2's development, Sucker Punch gave Naughty Dog their 3D model to help the team plot Ellie's journey through the city and choose the landmarks to build the game around. I only wish they'd also lent Ellie Delsin Rowe's neon projectiles. Would have made some of these fights a bit easier.
It's gonna be okay. Eyes on me. Shit.
Number 2, and we'll stick with the city for this next fact. One of the game's standout set pieces takes Abby and Lev up to the Seraphite sky bridges to keep them safe from the wolf-filled streets below.
How are you not terrified of this? And don't quote the prophet to me.
Lev explains that the bridges between skyscrapers remain hidden as the WLF never think to look up. The whole idea for this vertigo-inducing climb was inspired by the team watching focus testers playing games at Naughty Dog. They noticed that during these play sessions, the testers would only ever look side to side and rarely swing the camera up. So, what better place to hide an escape route?
Abby! Hold on! Hold me up! Get down.
Number 3 aptly concerns the 3-day structure of the game. Ellie and Abby's campaigns both follow the same 3-day period as the two crisscross across the city. But in the original plan, the story unfolded over 5 days. In this longer time frame, Ellie would have visited the Sarapi Island herself, granting an opportunity to see the whistling warriors during peacetime, spending time with their families and raising their cattle. Ultimately, the team decided it didn't contribute to Ellie's emotional journey, and our only visit to the island is, well, less gentle. Number 4 goes out to our resident water geek, Rob. The Last of Us Part 2 puts the whoa in H2O, triggering lots of moist mayhem as a storm rolls in. One of the developers accurately mapped how Seattle would flood without society to control its flood defences. But that isn't even the fact of choice here. What surprised us to find out was at one point in development, swimming around raging currents was a heavier mechanic in the game, even getting its own puzzling showcase. Remember the scene where Ellie is pushed out a window and washed down river to a sewer? Originally there was a longer puzzle sequence down there which revolves around harnessing currents to push Ellie where she needs to go. It was cut in the name of momentum, but you can play what the team cooked up as one of the included lost levels. Number 5, while we're on the subject of cut levels, do you remember the flashback to the Jackson dance? Hopefully you do, as it has some of the loveliest character interactions in the game. This was actually the first scene Naughty Dog filmed, and originally lived at the start of the game. Moving it towards the end had a knock-on effect of needing to establish the events of the party the day after.
Wait, you kissed Dina?
Oh.
But the bigger revelation is that Naughty Dog intended us to play the lead-up to the party, a social set piece that saw Ellie drinking to get some Dutch courage and then mixing cocktails for the locals. And yes, doing her awesome clicker routine. You can play an early version of this in Lost Levels and hear how the team chose to cut it to keep the pace moving. But it is a lovely moment of pure happiness that took us back to the playfulness of the Left Behind DLC. Oh, and while we're talking about trimming out minigames, when Abby and her dad discover the wounded zebra in the flashback, the designers made a minigame for cutting the barbed wire. Ironically, it didn't make the cut. Number 6. Did you notice the subtle tricks hinting at the passing time between flashbacks and present day? You can see the environmental teams strutting their stuff by comparing Ellie's garage annex at the very start of the game with the state of it 4 years later, where it's cluttered with relics from the old world to give a sense of Ellie's scavenging in the intervening years. Likewise, Ellie's body captures the time jumps in the subtle evolution of her tattoo. In the 2-year flashback, it's still a work in progress, with only the outline inked in. By present day, it fully masks where she originally got bitten by an infected.
Chemical burn. I did it myself.
Number 7 is director Neil Druckmann refers to these small touches as environmental storytelling of the body. Another great example is Lev's facial scar. Like all Seraphites, he's been marked, but the wobbly cut of his scar is intended to hit at the wavering faith that sets this character on his path. In a similar way, you might notice a slight limp in Isaac's movement. Although it's never directly referenced, if you look at the concept art, you'll see that the WLF leader's right leg is amputated, a backstory subtly hinted at in Jeffrey Wright's performance. And, on a lighter note, apparently Wright genuinely ate an apple every take for this scene. An apple a day keeps the cordyceps away, huh? Number 8, the commentary reveals another fun Easter egg in the WLF base. We see Abby reading a copy of David Benioff's City of Thieves, a book that was a huge inspiration on The Last of Us Part 1. It's the tale of survival during the siege of Leningrad, and one of the child protagonists is also called Lev. So that's 2 nods to the book in The Last of Us Part 2. Number 9, one of the pleasures of the commentary is hearing the team point out cast cameos and links to other games. For example, the stable hand in Jackson, that is Yuri Lowenthal, aka Peter Parker in Marvel's Spider-Man. And Chase Austin, seen here about to get got as Jordan, is the voice of young Sam Drake in Uncharted 4 Thief's End. The body on the floor in the TV station belongs to Haley Gross, the co-writer of The Last of Us Part 2, and the voice Abby hears on the Santa Barbara radio
Where in Santa Barbara are you calling from?
is that of Liam O'Brien, a member of the Critical Role D&D gang alongside Ashley Johnson and Laura Bailey, aka Ellie and Abby. No need to crack out the conspiracy corkboard, it genuinely is all connected. Number 10 is a small but notable reference to another cut level. When Ellie reads her journal in the farmhouse, there's a reference to cornering a boar and it triggering a flashback to a wounded Joel. This is actually left over from a scene that once opened the farmhouse sequence, putting Ellie on the trail of a wild pig in an echo of the deer hunt from the first game. You can play hide and seek with the boar in one of the lost levels and hear about the challenges of designing animal AI. But in the main game, all that remains is the doodle. Number 11, just as the Boar Hunt was intended to capture Ellie's ongoing PTSD from the death of a protector, similar references did and didn't make the cut throughout the game. After the massacre in the aquarium, for example, the sound team recorded an extra line from Troy Baker so you hear Joel's voice when Tommy bursts in, to invoke the confusion and chaos of Ellie's mind in the moment. Likewise, Ellie later sees a flash of Joel in her barn, a technique that was originally planned to happen earlier in the game. In the sewer lost level, for example, there is a horrible moment when a decaying body gives you a nasty shock as you squeeze by. So, number 12, I do not want to end the video on that incredibly bleak note, so let's jump to Ellie and Joel's perfect day out in the History Museum. It's where we hear Joel tell Ellie to close her eyes.
Close your eyes. It'll be worth it.
In a deliberate callback to Riley telling her to do the same to help picture a working arcade machine.
Close your eyes. Do it.
Neil Druckmann reveals that the idea for Ellie's imagined rocket ride was inspired by a scene in the spin-off comic book The Last of Us American Dreams. In it, Ellie visualizes crowds of people using a now dormant games arcade, and that power to fully lose herself in a moment is what gave him the idea of her fantasy liftoff. And that, believe it or not, is just a fraction of what we learned from The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered's behind-the-scenes features. Anyone with any interest in how games are made will discover a treasure trove here. If you enjoyed these revelations, make sure to give the video a like, and do subscribe to PlayStation Access for all the inside goss on all your favourite games. Thanks for watching.